Welcome back to another video, and this question graced my timeline quite a long time ago. It says, why does the anime follow the Disney trope where it has to be one or two dead parents or someone being raised by their grandparents, then their grandparents ends up dying, whether in the story or literally later on in the story, you know, just for this MC. And I think we can blame it, of course, on Goku, where Goku has the dead parents, and then in turn, Grandpa Gohan, that was raising him, ends up being dead in the Dragon Ball story, giving something to clinch on the emotional impact within this character, of course. And of course, the big three follows the same example. Luffy, parents, or at least mother, is gone. He's being raised by Garp. Garp's barely there. Garp will eventually, unfortunately, die in the story. Dragon is not present of his father. Gone. Mother's dead. Ging is unfortunately not present in the story or in his life. Then in turn, Ichigo. Father is there. Mother is dead. So he is being raised by a phenomenal father who is present and is in the story. So he's a quite different MC. And then Naruto, both his parents is dead. His grandpa, or the person supposed to be taking care of him, either Jiraiya and or Hiruzen, not really present in this story, or not present for him, just because they have different responsibilities in the grander picture of things. That it's been followed from Goku, and of course it makes the MCs and it makes the story more interesting, as well as the speculative nature of what anime can bring. For example, when you're starting off with a new anime season or character, especially like Asta's, for example, you're always asking, who's his mother? Who was his father? What made him do this? What gave him this ability? What put him on the outset? And without the parents being present to at least have this exposition, you have to figure it out on your own. Now, these parents, of course, eventually get revealed in the story much later on. But the speculative and theories nature bring more attention to said anime, to be said talked about, and then to encourage us to watch it or be more intrinsic of the MC. Of course, I do not believe well, when many people say it's to make them more realistic. No. Most people on average probably come from like a 2-family household, depending on where you are. It comes from like a 2-parent household, and or your parents are separated, but they still are present in your life into some degree, at least hopefully, right? Now, to people that come from like a 1-parent household or being raised by their grandparents, it's a tough situation. I quite understand it, but it is a tough situation, unfortunately. But I wouldn't relate for someone getting. I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna be possessed by like a Ninetales or a Quincy or a Devil Fruit. Like I'm not getting possessed by any of these special abilities. So I disagree on like the whole relatability side. Of course, it sets you back, and of course, with any of these main characters, it sets them back. It gives them a disadvantage since they don't have the same upbringing as their fellow side characters. So I quite understand that, but I still don't get no superpowers. I lost a parent. I don't get no superpowers. So what's going on? Of course. So it's kind of a trope that's been followed since the DBZ days till now, the big three. And since we know how big the big three was and how invested we are in each and every character of that MC, it's going to be followed by the other big shonens. And it hasn't really stopped. Like, for example, Deku, we have no idea who his father is. I don't know if it has ever been revealed, but since we have no idea who his father is, we will keep asking the questions who his father is. Asta's the same way. Black Clover is essentially almost over. Asta, who was his father? Why don't we know? Fire Force, unfortunately that story is over, but who was Shinra's father? Who are these people, and why are they not introduced into the story? Why are they not important to the story on the grand scheme of things? That is what we want to know, and that's what we want to see. And that creates the anime community, that creates the anime debate of who his father is, who his potential father is. And it brings more and more eyes to this MC, and it brings more investment into the show, of course. Now, most times it should be revealed, but sometimes the author just leaves it ambiguous and open-ended for us to just talk about. Fire Force, Fire Force is one. Black Clover is one, and I think My Hero is one, where they just don't really talk deep about the other parent missing from their life. Eren is one of the very few, I'm fortunate I put him in the pictures, where both his parents were present. Then Grisha, he eats. Then his mother, he also has to let be eaten. Oh, granted, it's his fault. Other than that, yeah, that happens. Yeah, that happens. So Eren had the chance to have both parents in his life. Just doesn't happen. They just both right in the first couple of episodes of the anime. So Eren's quite different. But like on the outset, Itadori is one. Like we want to know their parents, but it just doesn't it gets revealed much later. It's supposed to invest time and energy to the show, and it's supposed to have us looking forward to something. Maybe we'll get introduced to Luffy's mother. Maybe we'll get introduced to Asta's father. Maybe we'll get introduced to and a spin-off manga that's canon to the story on who Deku's father was, who was Shenron's father, who are these people to us and to the story that they were just not there. For us, that's important. That's something we look forward to. Shenron's father probably will never be introduced, but that's something we want to see, something we want to talk about. That's just my opinion on why they consistently follow the no parents trope. It's just to make the story, the character more interesting for us to be reeled in. For example, how many animes now try to focus on high school settings, because high school animes do so much better than regular shonen animes that don't have the high school mindset. So you'll see more high school animes now rather than an unstructured anime world that has to be built from the ground up. Those animes rarely do well. The big three is a exception. Hunter x Hunter is an exception. DBZ an exception. But high school animes do extremely well in Japan where it has to, and mostly around the world, in my opinion. Anyway, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.